Hello, this is Let's Finally Watch It, a podcast where one or both of us haven't seen a movie that you probably saw decades ago. I'm Lauren-Blair Donovan.
And I'm Canez.
And today marks the first podcast of November where
Right.
we're finally going to be watching some movies you haven't watched. We've seen a few, but not in October, so we're finally breaking the streak
I know.
of me being the weirdo that hasn't seen movies.
Right.
Can't hardly wait.
Yeah.
What are your expectations? What do you think it's about? Tell me the things, and I will keep a poker face.
Okay. Gosh. So I want to say I probably know most of it from the poster or the like the cover of the DVD or whatever.
Okay.
I know Seth Green has goggles.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll say that. I'll say it's on the poster. It's not spoiler.
And I did. I know I watched like at least a little bit of it a very long time ago. Was not paying attention though, so it might have been I don't know. So I know that it takes place in the late 90s.
It came out in 1998.
Okay. Oh wow, 98. Okay,
Yeah.
Interesting. And I think I think it'll be better than She's All That.
It's 100% better. I don't even have to. I've told you off camera. Like, I think you'll find things to like about it. I'm not going to fully predict if you're going to love it or like it, but I think you'll like it, kinda. There's stuff to appreciate about it. It's my favorite teen movie.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I would say without a doubt, probably. Like, I can't think of one that would rival it for me. I think it's just interestingly done. There's a lot of trivia that I'll save for the second part of this podcast about just how the movie was made. I just find it really fascinating. I know there's some familiar faces in it that we've already, even some people that are not the main six.
Oh, okay.
That you're going to recognize that we've seen in other movies and talked about even.
Wow.
It's quite the who's who of people of that age at that time, and there's even a few adult cameos, like people that were like in their 30s at that time.
Okay, cool.
That jump on screen.
Yeah.
I think though, if I were a betting man, and we're not going to know this for several months, but I think roughly once a month we're going to be watching some of these teen movies, so we can lead up to not another teen movie,
Right.
which I think Clark is going to like a lot, but we want him to understand all the context that they're making fun of and parodying and stuff. So we're building up. So in addition to me not having seen Star Wars, which we're kind of teasing to, like not another teen movie, not as epic as Star Wars, but that's what we're building up on your side of the fence a little bit. Yeah. I think out of all the movies parodied, if I were a betting man, I would say this, even if you don't love it, even if you kind of like some others, I feel like this will rank highly.
Okay. It's
not total garbage. There's probably a few things, I haven't seen it in a minute, so I'm sure there's a few things that are like whatever, but
I don't know if I trust you after She's
I
All
only
That.
saw that once though. I've seen Can't Hardly Wait dozens of times. So like I do know that pretty backwards and forwards for the most part. But I haven't seen it super recently. So and there's just so much. I'm thinking with She's All That, I was like, I think I liked it. And again, I was just like, it was just a nice juxtaposition to my mom dying. That's all it was for me. Which made it a terrible rewatch. But in this case, I remember specific things that I like. Yeah, I did not remember specific things that I liked about She's All That. Yeah. So I will go to the mat for Can't Hardly Wait.
Okay.
Are you excited? Or are you?
I'm excited.
Okay.
No, I'm excited to watch anything. I mean, because part of like in October, I was really happy to to be with you when you watch movies, and I do enjoy that. But yeah, I'm like, going into it clear-minded. I'm giving everything a chance. I'll give anything a chance, basically.
That's part of the beauty of having a podcast. That's kind of how I felt about some movies, where it's like, maybe I didn't elect to watch this for a reason, but now I have a reason to watch it, so I'm just going to give it the old college try. Yeah,
and I mean, it beats scrolling on Netflix or whatever for hours and hours and hours and trying to find a movie to watch. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, what are the popular movies that people have watched already and stuff? And like, oh, you remember all these, like, because I do obviously know about this movie because I know people,
it was in culture.
Yeah, it was, and And then leading into Can't Hardly Wait, or not another teen movie.
Right.
It's so funny because I think I may have had the soundtrack, or at least downloaded the soundtrack.
It well. We've talked about it.
Yeah, and I love it because it's modern. Modern for the time, covers of 80s songs, and I was like, okay, so. So we're leading up to it, and that'll be fun. That'll be fun to.
I think so.
Yeah,
we're starting off with a bang. Besides Choose All That, I guess we kind of started there, but now we're we know the roadmap we're on. We're going to lead up to not another teen movie. So
we have to put the work in. It's
hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
But I do like those parody because I was a pretty big fan of Scary Movie. At least 1 and 2. I think the other ones kind of
How many did they have?
Oh God, I think they had a lot.
6, I want to say. Is that too high?
I think that may be too high. I would probably
4.
Yeah, I'd probably say 4. Yeah. But I thought it was a very funny parody, and I know that was parodies Kevin.
There was a lot of parody movies for a while. For about 5 to 10 years, there was quite a few. But I don't remember Scary Movie super well. I did see that when I was young, maybe the second one even too. But I feel like I've had this conversation with some people recently where not another teen movie is just, it's pretty funny.
Right,
it's a well done parody. And you it works by itself, but if you know what's happening, what they're making fun of, it's even
it makes
better.
it so much better. Because there is a Star Wars parody movie called Spaceballs,
which I'd seen in 8th grade on a band trip, and I hated it. I hated it because I didn't know what was happening.
Oh, of course.
So we'll save that for after I see Star Wars.
I mean, it's okay, yeah.
I feel like it's a movie people look at me sideways if I'm not familiar or not into it.
Yeah,
so.
But also I think the whole point of this whole thing is people have different.
But 14-year-old me though, not the same. In some ways, scarily the same, but in other ways, way more evolved, way more open-minded, way more less pretentious. I was a hipster douche when I was 14.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
There is a pretty big, because I think this movie came out around Can't Hardly Wait. So going back to
you were also a hipster douche when that
I was a hipster douche when that came out, and I know for certain it was in the theaters at the same time as Rushmore, and I know I saw Rushmore over this movie. My ankle was broken at that time too.
Oh,
fun
trivia.
Fun fact. But so I'm glad to get rid of my old self, say goodbye to that old self, and say hello to new things.
That's so funny because this is also a little bit of a preview for a future episode. So we have a little bit of a mock schedule that we just try to be mindful about. It can change, it can be flexible, but if something is seasonal, we're trying to not have it be too many months where one of us has not seen any of the movies and the next, whatever. But I was there's not really a good classic New Year's movie. So I was going to have Can't Hardly Wait, even though it's a graduation movie, but it's about starting over. It's about leaving the past behind. And you were like, that may or may not work. And I was like, well, the only movie that I know about and it's not necessarily Star Wars or She's All That or Ghostbusters level, everyone's seen it, but it's an important one for me. It's 200 Cigarettes.
Yeah.
Same year, I think, 1998, maybe 7 or 9, either way. Indie darling film with literally every famous person who's ever been in a movie ever. Maybe the most star-studded cast ever. We'll save it for the preview.
Yeah.
We'll save it for the preview. But the reason why I was we can't watch it because it's not on streaming, and DVDs as of even 6 months ago, I think, were going for $200 because they were not being printed anymore.
That's crazy that in this day and age you could lose media, which.
And this is recent media. This is not media from even 30 or 40 years ago. It could have been lost in a fire. This is from the internet was in people's homes.
Right.
When this movie came out.
Yeah, which is so weird that would be the case.
And this was so serendipitous and maybe the happiest thing that's happened to me this year, which says a lot, and you can interpret that any which way you want. But I really love this movie, so it's only partially sad. I was looking it up to show him this like article I read about like the creator behind it, and not knowing why it disappeared. And there was an update to the article that it's now available on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And yes, I ordered the DVD. Yes, I did. It is in my possession. So that will be our New Year's movie. We would not normally announce stuff 2 months in advance, but oh my God, this is again a very happy event for me in 2022 for a lot of reasons, good and bad. And it's, who knows? I don't even remember it because I haven't seen it in a while, so maybe I'll hate it.
Maybe it might,
maybe that'll be the she's all that. I don't know, but I think I'm still gonna find certain things charming about it because I just love all the actors in it.
It's just like finding,
Casey Affleck's in it, so there's that, but you know.
Yeah. Well,
Ben Affleck's in it too. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah. Actually, I don't mind Ben Affleck. I know that that's polarizing to say.
I like watching him act, but I don't care about him as a person.
Sure.
I don't think he seems like a good dude to me. Is he the worst dude? No. Is he a guy I want to be friends with? Hell no.
Yeah.
No.
But I don't, I don't hate him. Like, anytime I've seen him, I really liked Dogma when it came out.
I haven't seen that in forever. I've seen it, but it's been a long time.
So it's not on the list because we've both seen it. But yeah. But I am excited. I am excited to watch Canez. I can't hardly wait. But it's
we're Replacements fans.
Yeah, we're Replacements fans. It's not really. I mean, that has to be somewhat in the soundtrack.
It's in the credits.
Okay, good. Yeah. Boy, oh boy, they would have really fricked up. I think I would have.
I don't remember this part, but I do think maybe it was somewhat named on purpose.
Okay.
I might be wrong. I can look that up. But
it's always like an inspiration too. Yeah.
It's a random phrase for a movie, so I hope there's a connection because the Replacements are awesome.
Yeah, because can't hardly.
Yeah, it's not something that we say every day. It's not on the tip of the tongue.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said it organically. So
I can't hardly. If I did, it'd be I can't hardly wait.
Yeah,
it's like can't hardly wait. Like that's an old timey way to speak.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah, there's so many other dumber versions that I would use for that.
Oh yeah. So we're gonna go watch it.
We're gonna watch it right now. If you guys haven't had a chance to watch it yet,
pause it, go watch it, and then
watch it.
March right back around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And maybe it's on the same device, so just hit stop play or open up Windows and then watch the second half.
Yeah.
So you can geek out or yell at us, whatever with us, either which way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Please. Okay.
We love it.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Bye.
Bye. And we are back in polka dots, all of us.
I know. That was not. I didn't think that this was going to happen. So
to be fair, if you're on the visual, you can see this. If you're on the audio, go check us out. But my dog is single white femaling me though. She got dressed after me, so I'm just gonna put that out there. Bad joke. I dressed her. She's having a grand old time.
If she probably picks it. I could see her with her nose.
She gets excited whenever I change her. She's like, "Oh, new outfit," because I think she knows it means we're doing something.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, can't hardly wait.
Yes.
You have finally seen Can't Hardly Wait.
Yes, I couldn't hardly wait, and now I'm.
The wait is over.
The wait is over. I've waited long enough.
Yeah.
Obviously.
What are your drive-by impressions before we get into like the nitty-gritty details?
So I knew I would probably like it more, and like I said, like I did see it like kind of half conscious or whatever, so I knew, but there were some things that I was like, oh, I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
But I thought it was fun. I thought it was a really fun movie, and. It wasn't exactly a movie that takes place in one night. I kind of like movies like that where it does take place in one night because it kind of almost is like in real time.
Yeah.
Or whatever, or it feels like realistic. I guess maybe like the way like documentaries are or whatever. But I thought it was good.
It was like a 24-hour period though with like one or two flashbacks. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And one thing I mean the cast is insane.
Like between the main six and the cameos, it's like
I couldn't believe it.
I don't think like they're all still working.
Yeah,
all still working. Yeah,
and I was floored by that. I really.
Which one was the most shocking to see on your screen? Like, who were you the most floored by?
I don't know why, but like Well, Peter Segal, like that was very
Peter Segal.
Jason Segel. Oh my god! Wait, Peter Segal is somebody else, right?
I think so. I don't know who that is, but it sounds like Jason a name. Segel, it sounds like a person.
Anyways, and Donald Faison and Breckenmeyer, because I was like, oh my god, they were both in Clueless. Yeah, and then they're both like pretty.
And it was like 3 years after Clueless too.
Yeah,
so in real time, it was like reunited. So
so they were probably like, oh hell yeah,
yeah.
Donald, cool.
I think they're like legit good friends in real life too.
Oh,
I might
probably,
be wrong, but I think that's the case. And that was Jason Segel's first on-screen role, and I only knew he was in there because of like a few years ago when I rewatched it, because I hadn't seen it for a while, and there was many viewings where I didn't know who Jason Segel was. Yeah, because I'm someone that saw Freaks and Geeks later.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't see it in real time, so I didn't know who that was.
I'm trying to think. It might have been, if it was before, then I will. Even if I would have watched it, even if I would have watched Can't Hardly Wait when it came out, I wouldn't have clocked that was the same person or whatever. But yeah, it was very fun to see that. Sorry, Jason. I don't know why I called you Peter, but and then I felt like Melissa Joan Hart. That was kind of a surprise for me too, because it felt like a more adult thing that she would have done, and now I know that she's very conservative now, right? Yeah, she's like a very conservative commentator. So I'm like, I'm kind of.
Is she? Wait, genuine question: is she super conservative, or is she conservative leaning and puts a muzzle on it and says dog whistle-y things? But because she also has like the nice girl personality, where she does seem genuinely likable to like be in the same room as her.
Yeah.
And like she's still in touch with all her Sabrina castmates. Like I think there's good things to her, but like has said things. I'm asking, I guess, because I've heard her say things and I'm like, ooh, that sounds like a conservative dog whistle, but I haven't heard her say super overt things. So I don't know. So do you
I think it's just that she's conservative and I'm gonna be against it no matter what. So like I don't even care. I don't know exactly what. I'm imagining she was pro-Trump, but this was actually before the Trump era. Like I do remember hearing about that, and I was like, oh, that sucks, because like it's always kind of disheartening when you find out that about certain people. You're like, oh. Yeah, they're
like she's not Candace Cameron Bure.
Yeah, I know.
But like, I'm gonna do a deep dive after this because now
we're gonna investigate you.
We'll talk about it another time, I'm sure. But also, we have a second appearance from Miss Clea Duvall.
I know that was
which was so brief, too brief of a cameo, but
because the movie that I really remember her from is actually The Faculty.
Oh yeah,
with Josh Hartnett and everything.
Elijah Wood, Jon Stewart.
Yeah. I used to really. It's a horror movie, so
I did see that once. I don't remember it super well, but I did see it. I was a big Elijah Wood fan.
He's great. Yeah,
I mostly know her from kind of all the movies, but I'm a Cheerleader with Natasha Lyonne.
Shoot, I don't know why I forgot about that.
We're watching American Pie later this month, so all the teens of the late 90s. It's crazy.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And it was like a real who's who. And also, it flowed really well, too. Like, I thought it flowed pretty well. Like, nothing ever seemed... There's a lot of craziness, let's be honest.
Sure.
It's a movie. It has to be crazy. But I felt like it was, like... Most of it was, like, earned,
I think it's a really well-written movie. You understand who the characters are. They're properly introduced. There's not really anything gratuitous, maybe exaggerated, but it's still in service of the plot and characters, even if it's sometimes a bit something. And it's not... The only two problematic things that I can remember clocking offhand are the really overt white man uses the N-word. But he gets in trouble. He gets in trouble. So it's like, the reality is people use that word and it's not right, but at least they get punished. So that didn't age badly in the sense of like they weren't saying that's acceptable. And they were also, I think, making a commentary on how this was peak I mean, white people still appropriate from black people and other cultures.
Of course, yes.
But like the late 90s and the early to mid 2000s.
Well, it was like Kid Rock.
The apex.
It was like Kid Rock, and like I blame nu metal, frankly.
Nu metal, and then also hip hop was the most popular it had ever. I mean, it's still popular, but it was like for the first time mainstream.
Yeah.
So it was aspirational. So I think a lot of white teenagers thought, oh, I want to dress like P. Diddy, or Puff Daddy, maybe that's what he was called back in those days, or like, pay homage to the late Biggie or Snoop Dogg, whatever, and they didn't realize how not a good look they were stealing, not appreciating. So the movie, it felt like the writers were calling that out with that particular moment. They were trying to make fun of white teenagers,
right, and
thinking that things are acceptable when they're not.
and that is like another element of that, and like we were always saying, is like the difference between appreciation and appropriation. And at that time it was kind of the Woodstock 99, like with nu metal. It was a lot of blurred lines that should not have been blurred. Yeah, and it made me not like miss that time either, though. You know what I mean? It was like I kind of was like,
you can pay me all the money in the world to go back to 1998.
I'm so sorry, but like everybody's like, oh, I'd love to go back to that, and it's like, really? No, I'm good.
Pass.
I'm so fine without that. Yeah.
And then the other thing was some gay slurs.
Oh God, that's right.
Which wasn't great.
They used the shortened version, which is horrible. But
it rolled off the tongue in those times.
Oh my, you know what? I will say,
like, that was historically accurate. That's not a defense of it, but that wasn't gratuitous, which is bad in its own right. But that's how teens talked too.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was that I might be conflating two movies. No, that was like a how dare they think I'm gay moment. Yeah, there was a lot of
exactly.
Sometimes I argue, well, people just want to be seen for who you are. If I was like, hey, Bill, you'd be like, no, my name's Clark. You're not offended. The name Bill isn't terrible. You don't hate Bills. People want to be. So I think sometimes when it comes to sexuality, some people are like, oh no, I'm straight. Yeah, but it's not like an affront. It's not like how dare you. But in these times with another movie that will come up soon, that's a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, it's just those are the times. I mean, even like adult things at that time, it was almost worse, in fact.
Yeah.
But I think, for the most part, I felt like it did hold up well.
Compared to a lot of movies of that, not just teen movies, but just movies of that time frame. Yeah. Even aspects of the romantic parts of it, like for instance, I love that Preston and Denise, Ethan Embry and Lauren Ambrose never got together.
I know.
That could have been something that people would have expected, like, oh, they're best friends. There's no way they're strictly platonic. This is going to be a When Harry Met Sally, which is another movie we've seen on this podcast. So go watch that episode if you haven't. But it's like, no, they're legitimately best friends.
Yeah,
so I like that that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think I feel like. Yeah, that's the plot of so many other movies and stuff like that. So I'm glad that they're... And, it's kind of cool that, his best friend, was a girl.
Yeah. They claimed they, dated for a week in the 8th grade or 9th grade. But that's such a young person thing to do, too. And so it's not that deep. It's not that deep, So...
Yeah. But the one thing that I did have a little bit of an issue with, but, I mean, I think they kind of, it's the least... offensive out of all the other examples that I could think of, but just like Ethan Embry, going back to Ethan Embry, him just being like, oh, I like this person, and that's enough.
Yeah.
I've never...
And the Beckett, she was pretty to him, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He had never really talked to her, so that's my issue with that, and they didn't really have any interaction within the 4 years or when did
I guess not. Yeah, because it was sometime in their freshman year. She was the new kid on campus. I think I have an issue with it too, but I think I'm more forgiving of it because I think when you're 15, you get crushes from afar and you don't know it's not a big deal. And it could take all of high school to exercise it out or a good year or two. I went to a small school where public school, 80 kids per grade, kind of a unique system, if you will. Because it was like the same kids from K through 12 because there was no filtering in from elementary schools consolidating to like bigger middle high schools, whatever you want to call it. So by the time I was like in 8th grade, I was like, I don't like any boys in my grade. I already know these boys and I've already ruled them out. Not that they liked me, I was definitely not desirable, but I get crushes on people from different grades or, you know, someone who worked at a store or something. Like maybe this is my soulmate because like, you know, that's what's taught too, you know, watching Boy Meets World and like every relationship has so much, you know, stock and if you know when you know and all this stuff. And so I guess I kind of forgive Ethan Embry's character, Preston Myers, a little bit for that, but it is ridiculous.
But
looking through an adult lens, it's like, oh no, he's objectifying her. 100%.
I mean, if it was anybody but Jennifer Love Hewitt, I mean, it just happened to be Jennifer Love Hewitt,
who's like one of the most perfect looking teenagers to ever walk the planet. She's pretty flawless. Like she's she is beautiful, and
so it doesn't even, you know, and but and then it kind of goes into that trope of like, oh, I gotta save her from the jock asshole. But I will say, like, this was one of the things that I did. So that jock asshole, I forgot
Peter Facinelli.
Peter Facinelli.
I forget the name. Mike Dexter. That was the
Mike Dexter. That's exactly what his name was. And I do like when he was with his friend, when he was like, oh yeah, I broke up with her because I'm going to be dating older women. And I appreciate that because there's so many. I remember we were watching and I told you there was this song that I don't like necessarily, like I don't like the music, but it's a song that was played on the radio all the time. But if I could fly, I'd lift you up. But he's talking about this girl being 16 and they're saying that like you don't know what love is, but I'll show you love. And I'm like, oh my god, I had no idea those were the lyrics. I think anybody who listens to it only listens to the chorus, basically. But so I had seen like a TikTok that was showing like, oh my god, this lyric and stuff.
There's a lot of fun TikToks about inappropriate lyrics.
And so I watched that right before I watched this, and I was like, oh, thank goodness he wasn't like. And you explained to me, and I haven't really seen it.
Dazed and Confused. Matthew McConaughey's character makes some kind of comment about how he keeps getting older, and the high school girls stay the same age. That's a plus in his.
I know.
Worldview. So. Yeah, no, you're right. Mike Dexter, not a good person. Probably being superficial for the reasons that he wanted to date college chicks. But at the same token, at face value, you not knowing the whole character, that's literally one of the first things coming out of his mouth. You should break up with your high school girlfriend.
Absolutely.
That's what you're trying to say.
And I think that's...
He was misguided, but almost had the right idea.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, like, I think he was also realistic about maybe a long distance relationship may not work or whatever. So, but yeah, like, I think out of all the other, assholes in movies.
I think, here's the thing. I have so much trouble watching media about teens now that I'm like so far removed from my adolescence and college years.
I'm like 2 teens.
Because it's like even the jerks, I'm like, who hurt you?
Right.
You're that way for a reason. You know, they're no longer my peers, so I don't feel as triggered by certain bullies, if you will. And the fact that when Jerry O'Connell came.
Oh man, I forgot
and
about
Trip
that
McNeely, and he was striking out left and right at college, and then that spooked Mike. I think that showed what an insecure dude he really is deep down. And then he's crying to William, and even like gets him out of jail. I mean, it's just kind of like somewhere in there's probably a good person, which is why I was sad that he never grew into a good person, because apparently
for sure
he drank too much beer, lost his scholarship, was working at a car wash, and then he lost his job because of the Polaroids that surfaced.
Right.
We do a minute on that.
Which is, I mean, that's not, but also, I mean, like, he was like secretly a good person.
That's what I mean. I wish that like something, because sometimes when jerks go to college, they don't have to be a jerk. Like they can start over on a good leaf, you know? So the fact that, and like nowadays, I don't think those types of photos would get you fired, but I guess pre-social media days, it's okay to be gay in all 50 states age.
Yeah.
I guess maybe that would have been realistic depending on when those Polaroids surfaced.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless you're in Florida or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, I think as far as like him being the I mean, because he definitely goes, I mean, there's people who obviously have things against him, of course, like the
he was a jerk. Yeah.
And and he is classic jerk, but he the nerd in
William.
William, he goes up against him really hard. He has a real vendetta against him.
Yeah, because he like lists all the things he did in the beginning, and then we find out another nugget when they're drunk together, and he's like, do you remember that time you gave that stupid speech and I tripped you and everyone laughed?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it's a quarter under the bridge. And it's like, when was that? Anyway, this morning at graduation.
Oh my God.
That was a good joke.
That was actually really funny.
Yeah, the way that was written was pretty great, actually. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He was a jerk. He clearly... I feel like the relationship between him and Amanda was completely based on status and BS high school politics, and she eventually saved herself, though. Preston didn't totally save her.
Yeah,
she stood up to him. Yeah. So that's another reason why this aged okay, I think, to some extent, because she was like, nope, high school's over, I'm liberated in that, this is why we're not going to be together, which implies he probably didn't treat her that great to begin with.
Yeah, she didn't have a conflict about that at all, which was great because, you know...
She wasn't pining for him. She wasn't like her friends were more upset than she was.
Right. I mean, she's probably heard it first, but then she probably was like, oh, I actually do get why you're saying that, though. Like, yeah. And
because he wasn't the nicest person, and she seemed like a genuinely nice enough human. Like, it wasn't like she was the bratty bully or something. Like, even Preston's best friend Denise, like, she was the voice of reason. That's like, you don't know the bitch, but she wasn't calling her a bitch. She wasn't like, hey, that girl's never been nice, which is often the trope of like the high school quarterback and popular girl, like prom queen and king stuff. So like, she was just like a girl next door personality and Jennifer Love Hewitt's beautiful body, and like,
of course,
so I mean, like,
and if anything, like, the whole world is like against her. Like, I mean, when everybody found out that she was single, everybody was throwing themselves at her, and it was horrible. And
or like turned on her, because even her friends were like behind her back, sort of thinking she was delusional for thinking she'd be okay. Like, there was some like low key cattiness.
There sure was,
you know, even high key, actually. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and then, or even her cousin or second.
That was weird.
I don't know. I mean,
second cousin by marriage.
Second cousin by marriage. Okay, but I think they had to say it like afterwards. I think I think it was. I mean, it's still, come on.
Still too close for comfort.
Yeah, it's still you're gonna see each other.
The fact that he had to be like, "Are you gonna tell my mom about this?"
Yeah, that
says it all. If you're worried, even if it's not incest adjacent, if you're worried about you dating someone getting back to your parents, probably don't date them. That just feels like a golden rule to me. Just saying. Just saying.
I mean, because, oh man, just no. So that was a bizarre.
Epitome of the nice guy trope. Like, I'm gonna listen to you, but I have ulterior motives. Like, he's not being a friend or a cousin.
Just I don't know if I need to tell you guys, but don't date your cousin. I would hope I wouldn't have to say that. But.
What was with the 90s and like pseudo being related? Because that's even how Clueless ends.
That's what I was
Former stepbrother. Like,
that's exactly what I was gonna say right now.
Too close for comfort. Is it genetically gross? No. Is it too close for comfort? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least horribly awkward. Like,
yeah, and it's the porn fetish of step sibling crap and Cruel Intentions, which
that was another one.
Step sibling. You've seen that one, right?
Yeah, I mean, and also Game of Thrones. Like,
I haven't seen that, but
yeah, it's pretty bad. And also the Habsburgs. Like,
I don't know what that is.
Oh, the Habsburgs, they're a royal family in Europe.
Oh. Well, yeah, they're all inbred over there.
Yeah, they're all inbred, yeah. Or the queen who just died, yeah.
Yeah, and they're all... Yeah, anyways, this is our PSA. Inbreeding, not good. Even if it's a whisper of inbreeding, maybe don't do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not fun.
Yeah, but, I think... I think that there was a weird thing that I was thinking about. I don't know. I should have looked this up, but like, was this before Columbine or?
Yes.
Okay.
About a year before.
Yeah.
Probably filmed 2 years before.
Okay, sure. The only reason why I say that is because like I was thinking about the nerds right now, but I was like, I feel like.
But like.
Or there were like some psycho kids in there or something. Yeah.
You know, it's funny, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's actually a really important point that you just stumbled into because, so I'm a big One Tree Hill fan. I don't know why. I was not a cheerleader or a basketball player, but for some reason that show I got super into. So I listened to the women of the show have a podcast called Drama Queens where they rewatch old episodes, and kind of recently they hit the school shooting episode because there was a school shooting episode for One Tree Hill. And it was basically a boy who was not super popular, who kind of got ditched by the few friends he had because his friends became popular, and then he brings a gun to school and bad stuff happens. And they were talking about how that's actually not, the stereotype of that isn't totally true. There's lots of kids that are bullied that would never do that. And in terms of Columbine, they had friends.
Yeah.
They had mental illness, though.
Right, of course.
The media, they didn't get everything wrong, but they got a lot wrong. And I used to live in Denver, guys. I knew a lot of Columbine students that were in the school when it happened. And I want to be careful with what I say about it because it's not my story. But I can say that almost all the kids I know are not thrilled with how the media portrayed really any of it.
Yeah.
Like any of it about what happened, about how the kids were doing after the fact, as well as like the story of the shooters.
Yeah, exactly.
Who they all knew.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends were even friends with one of them in particular.
Yeah.
So it's like this dicey thing of like watering down tropes. Be careful.
Right.
Be careful. In real life or in movies. It's just not all... I wonder if that movie did come out post Columbine, if the William character.
Right.
Is that what you were kind of getting into?
Yeah. But it was also like they were like going to capture him and like do all this crazy stuff, and I was like, oh, I feel like.
Oh yeah, that's
I mean,
now we have no bullying. It's like a zero tolerance. Granted, it's after high school, so he couldn't have gotten suspended, and it wouldn't have been on school grounds. But don't mess with. Don't touch people's bodies. Don't plants. Don't give them. What was it? The chloroform.
Yeah.
Don't chloroform people. Don't do it. Like don't. Like, that's the second PSA today. No incest. No chloroform, please.
Yes. And definitely not combined or that's really bad. But I think that So I think that was. But also those nerds were just like so nerdy. But I was like. Oh shit! I kind of liked like literally everything that they were talking about. Oh man, they were talking about like X-Files and stuff and Star Wars, and I was
two of your favorite things.
Yeah, like two of my favorite things.
Well, I think it's okay.
But I was so cool though in high school. You have to understand, like even though I like those things, I was very cool and everyone liked me.
We believe you, but. But it's like, I think it's okay to do a stereotype as long as you get the details right. Not a stereotype, but like. I remember Mike Judge saying that he was so surprised that people who are actually in the tech industry love Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Because he's like, we're kind of making fun of you. But he's like, oh, but they feel seen.
Yeah.
We got the details correct.
And that's absolutely true. Because, I mean...
Because it's not punching down if you're paying attention.
Yeah, right. I mean, also because I don't know if... Have you seen Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Well, anyways, it's set in West Covina. And I'm from West Covina.
But they do have a lot of, except for every street that they name is Cameron, which is the street next to my parents' house. But like, they're always saying like, it's on Cameron and stuff, and it's like actually Cameron's not even that. Azusa would be more.
I wonder if it's like an inside joke, like her best friend lived on Cameron, and it's
maybe,
I do that sometimes. I'll like add my friends' last names to like sketches or movies. Be like, this is dedicated to it's got now, or an inside joke, or
exactly, whatever. Yeah. But there are like certain details that I'll watch on that, and I'm like, I should be offended, but that's true. Like it's actually true. And going back to those nerds, I was like, okay, that was kind of true. Like,
and they committed too. They weren't like Urkel doing snorts. Not that there's anything wrong with Urkel. He was a genius in his time. Like Julian White's a good comedic actor. I will die on that hill. But they weren't doing this. They just were dressed a certain way, and they just committed to like, this is what we care about. That was the character, and so they wore it really well.
Right. And they were in high school, and hopefully they grew out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Or they get with their Canadian, visit their girlfriend, and Christy
Turlington.
Internet girlfriend from Canada, or they were going to be in Canada, I forget. I don't know.
Yeah, that's so funny. And that's before like catfishing even became a
AOL
thing.
chat rooms were a time in the late 90s.
I know.
Online dating, it was just presumed that you were going to get murdered.
Oh,
and now most adults who are single have tried online dating. How much has
so
changed
weird.
in 20 plus years? It's pretty wild.
Well, because it does really show the internet. I mean, at this time, like 98, 99, it was definitely a time where only really nerdy people were using it.
We were just leaving that. More homes were starting to get a computer.
We're getting sent the AOL discs.
Yes.
That's this time. Or the floppy, actually at this time, floppy discs. They're getting the AOL floppy discs. And I remember that time. It wasn't, Instagram would never have worked. Like, pictures did not come up.
They were fuzzy. It took forever to download
exactly.
any
So
photo.
If you're impatient at all, the internet was not for you. And I think like a lot of people making it work, or like they made it, like nerds were like okay with it because it was mostly like a bunch of
well, even William, when they were talking about how are you going to not get drunk, he's like, I downloaded this baby from the net.
Exactly.
Who calls it the net? Netscape?
The World Wide Web, even worse. Yeah, Netscape. R.I.P.
Well, let's talk about the Kenny of it all, because we really haven't talked about the national treasure that is Seth Green.
Seth Green, exactly. Yeah, he is so funny. He is so funny. I like him in anything, but I think he plays this character pretty well. Like I was I wasn't surprised, I guess, but it was just like, oh my god, he is like.
He committed hard.
He committed so hard to it.
He really did.
And and especially, I think they did a good job of like, Lauren Ambrose, like, put them together. And
because you don't see that coming. Just like some people may have thought that she would have ended up with Preston, I don't think anybody would have thought that that's who was going to hook up with Kenny.
Right, exactly. I know. And
buried that lead.
You know what? And as I was watching it, I was like, oh, he's going to keep striking out. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be, he's going to strike out. But it was like, no, he only really, he made a fool of himself a lot of the time, but like he only really struck out from a sure thing. But from a sure thing once, But I thought like it would be something, And it's really, he is, he is so precious about losing his virginity actually in it.
That was like kind of my only thing. I did write down, I was like, I want to know Kenny's backstory.
Yeah.
I can take guesses, but why didn't he have a girlfriend in high school? Like, based in reality or in his own mind? Because this is somebody that's pure ego. Yeah. Right? Clearly an insecurity, and you see the humanity in him at times pop up and stuff. Mm-hmm. But like, why does he think that all of high school this never happened to him? Yeah. I would have loved to just have a little glimpse. Yeah. And it's not even a critique. It just, this is the first time I've thought this, where I'm like, ooh, I can understand why girls may have not liked him, but why does he think that this has taken 4 years?
Right. Well, I think the thing is, he probably, I feel like the thing that he probably does is he will have like somebody who likes them, but then he messes it up with his anxiety. Maybe he because he's really he is actually very precious about it.
Like a candle, the Karma Sutra book.
Oh my god! Like, come on, bud. You know, and it's so funny because he's putting more stock in it probably than.
Yeah, he's making it a romantic thing when it's a random hookup.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting juxtaposition. It is in his tactics.
Right. So I think that's funnier than. I think the way that they wrote that. I think that's a
why
good
it's
way
not
to approach that.
problematic. In a weird way. I mean, not that he trust me, he was problematic, but that's why he's lovable because it's like he was deep down probably a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Like at the high school reunion, he was probably a really lovely person to chat with.
For sure.
Like he probably grew the fuck up.
Yeah, and was like deeply committed in a relationship. And stuff, but so I thought that was great, and I him and his crew, it was fun to see that. But it was a good plot device in getting locked in the bathroom, so he could be kind of away from that and be kind of and that was like a cool thing that I feel like a few times in this movie. I think also when we're talking about Dexter as well, there's more of a like these people show their true colors or whatever.
Yes.
And with Seth Green's character, obviously, like he starts dropping
the facade.
The facade, yeah. And
I think that's why I like this movie so much. It's not that like all that happens that night is realistic, because it's not. But I think the humanity of being an adolescent is captured so well. So many people are stuck in the archetype that either was assigned to them or that they actively chose. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Right.
And then you see that. I think with all of them to some extent, you know, and it's just, that's timeless.
Yeah.
Change the clothes, change the soundtrack, change the bad slurs, but that part is timeless.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I don't know, I just can't never like this movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's fun. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it again, but like it was better than what was the She's All That.
Oh, She's All That.
Yeah. It was better than She's All That. Even
that's the lowest of our and you know we have Avatar. For like our lowest all time, that's our like 0 stars. But I feel like for these teen movies, since at least once a month, this month twice, but at least once a month leading up to not another teen movie, we're going to be watching all these trash teen movies.
Yeah.
I think She's All That's the worst. I might be wrong because I'm not thinking of our whole catalog we're going to go into offhand, but
it's definitely the most shallow, I will say that. Like surprisingly, we'll get into another movie.
Tune back in 2 weeks. We'll have some other thoughts, but there's just parts of this movie that's like, oh, you guys are all so clueless, and you'll get there. You're just 18.
And
because even Lauren Ambrose's character Denise thinks she's above it all.
Oh,
but she's sad when someone thinks that they know her, and then it's only to win a bet.
Right, exactly.
Because she made no impression, and I think she's kind of reconciling that, like, oh, I made no effort. I had one friend for probably good reasons. Her best friend ditched her because he wanted to be cool, you know, Kenny. But, you know, like, she was so uncomfortable at that party.
Yeah.
And that's not a way to go through life. She's having a reckoning in its own right. She had to soften and remember the good in Kenny to be attracted to him.
Right. And you know, and that is like another thing too, is, you know, I'll be honest, like, you know, in high school I was like, oh, this person, oh, how joyful and stuff like that. And it's like, I mean, I was still nice to everybody, but like doing that, it's like, why are you doing? Why are you doing that? Like, it makes it so less enjoyable. You know?
I was closer to that too in high school, and honestly, one of my best friends from my hometown, we were not even friends with like each other in high school. We did not like each other. I don't think I was even that nice to him. Just like, Paul, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but I'm glad we're friends now. But there was a lot of people, because I spent a little bit of time between summers and I think the year after I was in college before I moved to Denver. in my hometown. So it's kind of like this small town thing where a lot of people either go back to school because they're like a year younger than you, or they go to grad school, or they move to New York City. That's like a big thing because we're kind of close. And I was still there, and you kind of adopt whoever is still there, like whether they're friends or acquaintances, or you're like, oh yeah, I haven't seen you in 5 years, we barely talked, okay, do you want my number? Sure, we can do lunch. Like you figure it out. And pretty much everyone, even though my friend Paula is probably the only one I'm like legitimately close with from that time period, still everyone I got to hang out with that year was really great. And I was like, why was I such a dick? Why did I just assume my friends were the only nice people and I wanted, because I didn't think I was cooler than anyone. I just thought everyone else was stupid, which is sort of sounds like the same thing. It's not how I mean it though. Like I didn't think I was cool, but I also didn't think anybody else was cool except my friends. And I don't mean that in like the cool way, I just thought everyone was tedious. And like I said, I knew everybody from kindergarten, if not preschool in some cases. So I was over it, but before I entered high school, I think is the best way to put it. But that was the wrong attitude because some people were really lovely, and I found that out way after the fact.
But also like another thing about it too is like we were talking about those facades that people put up. Sometimes that's hard to deal with because it's like I mean there's a few examples that I have just flooding my brain right now where I'm like, oh my god, I used to hang out with so-and-so, but that's only, like, I hung out with them after school, but that's because they put down their facade. They weren't...
Maybe it's possible I was half right, but I was still half wrong for not even giving people a chance.
For sure,
So it was like... I relate to Denise more than I'd like to. Do I wish I was Jennifer Love Hewitt? Yeah. Was I Denise? Fuck yeah.
But also, just having such a smaller class though, because I think we had like hundreds in our class. Like I would almost say 1,000.
We didn't have that many in our whole school district, I don't think.
It's crazy,
Because we barely had 100 per grade, so K through 12.
And so I think it's a very, I think with that, it's easier. Because this takes place like, we were looking at
It's in Pennsylvania.
It is Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Where I'm from. Hello.
Really weird. Okay. But it seemed like a bigger town though, and it.
Mine's an anomaly. Even small towns are usually absorbed into bigger school districts. But for some reason, ours wasn't. And it's the way it's always been, and I don't know any different, so no regrets.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, but what I was going to say is, like, I think you could be a little bit more selective. It's easier to be more selective when you have, like, so many people, like...
Right. Well, my friend group, we didn't actually have a lot in common. The two things we had in common, though, was that we were good kids, but not in, like, a goody-goody way, although I'm sure the cool kids thought that about us. But no, we just weren't interested. In like drinking or drugs, like we just wanted a clean cut experience. Like we just were late bloomers in that regard. And everyone had a great sense of humor. Was actually very funny. But there was like lacrosse players, there was theater people, there was nerds, there was people who were failing. Like it was a little bit of like in retrospect, like the older I get, the more I'm like, my friend group was really weird.
It was just
like we were kind of an anomaly. Like we didn't actually have a lot in common, and I think it's why certain pockets of us are friends and certain ones of us haven't spoken 10 years or more, and it's not even bad feelings, it's just we didn't have a lot in common.
Right. So that makes sense. I think that there's always something that kind of binds you at times, and you know what, when I think about it, I mean I had so many friends, like looking back on it. No, I mean, I just did. I mean, just because it was like the odds.
Yeah.
You know, you just had like a friend or two in each class. So from there, you're friends with their friends kind of too, you know.
I think I would have had such a different experience if I went to a bigger high school. Because like with college, because I went to 2 different colleges. I went to a local one and then I transferred to University of Miami, and I just knew more people because I had to also. Yeah. You inherit your friends in a small town. Yeah. You don't pick them.
Right. Yeah.
You don't.
Basically, it's your family.
I mean, you pick who you're not friends with. Like, I was in a popular lunch table in middle school at one point. I'm like, they're mean. I don't want to be here. Yeah. So I left. Yeah. You know, and so you don't pick, but you pick who's left. You inherit who's left, or the people you knew otherwise, or whatever. So. Yeah.
But
that makes sense.
But yeah, I think. But those dynamics always are there, and I don't know what it's like to go to school now, so I have nothing.
I feel like it's the same and yet different, because I feel like kids don't care about a lot of the same stuff that we used to. I think people are a little bit kinder because so much has changed culturally.
Right.
But they're still pricks. They're just different in how they're prickish, maybe. Yeah. That's the impression that I get, but I'm not sure I'm correct, obviously, because I don't hang out with high schoolers. Shocking.
I'd be worried about you.
I know, that'd be a real problem. But there's a few things about the social interactions that I thought were kind of interesting, though, because I liked how this is kind of about Lauren Ambrose, but it's also about it's about all the characters. I like how this movie shows that parties aren't always fun.
That's true, too.
Because there's this, especially in this Instagram culture, where people are showing party pics that look so fun, but if you at those parties, it's not as fun as the photos.
Right. And there have been plenty of times where I talk myself to go to this big party or whatever. I go and I'm like,
I'm gonna leave in 30 minutes.
I don't know anybody here, and it's also, God, I guess that's me being, my old self. But it's just I don't know if I even want to hang out with these people, so I'm gonna just go home, which is not.
No.
Yeah.
I've been really buttoned up this past year socially for a lot of reasons. But last year in 2021, I went to a couple parties just because it felt like you should. Because it's life is kind of back. We're vaccinated. Every time I was at a party, I'm like, I'm literally going to leave in 30 minutes. Yeah. This is just not fun. It's hard to have a meaningful conversation when people are drunk and there's loud music playing.
Yeah.
And I don't drink either, so at a certain point, people stop having the same conversation with you that you're having. Right. They forget what they're saying and repeat stuff or aren't listening. So I don't, but because Lauren Ambrose's character, miserable. Jennifer Love Hewitt, miserable for most of the party. Mike Dexter clearly not having a great time. Yeah. Ethan Embry gets yelled at and runs away. Kenny's obviously mad, and then William had a grand old time.
William had a great time.
He's the only one.
He's the last party, for sure.
But parties aren't fun, and that's I think another reason why I just have such a soft spot for this movie, because it's that's accurate.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that there's God, now that I think about it, who did have a good time there? But I think, the guy who stole all the stuff, he probably had a great time because he probably made out like man, literally. And
Chris Owens, we'll probably talk about him in the American Pie episode, since we had a little bit of a double feature of Chris Owens. Yeah. But
I think that, I think that's the way, especially younger parties too, because there also this element of there's so many people here, but there's also not a lot of alcohol, because it's everybody bringing over a 6-pack or something for 3 people, and there's always never
but they had a keg at this party.
They did have a keg.
That does help.
It does help, but a keg's not a lot of beer. It's a lot of beer, but it's not a lot. I'm just saying.
It felt a lot when my friends would be home from college and we would get a keg. We would have, at the time, what felt like a big party, because it would be anywhere from 20 to 50 of us. And a lot of the times we'd have a party the next day because we had to finish the keg.
Right, okay.
But with this was a huge party, though.
Yeah, I guess this was huge. It was that's what I was saying. Yeah. It was this is a gigantic party. And also, when they were squirting it out, it was all foam. And I was like, oh my God. This is
the beer has gone bad.
Yeah, the beer has gone bad. Oh my God, what a great line.
It really is.
But then, but also another thing about this movie is the soundtrack. I actually didn't mind the soundtrack.
We were talking about this, even songs we didn't necessarily like, they were so well placed that we weren't mad at. I actually took a tally of the 90s bands I could keep track of. Because what I like about it, they have older music too, because the director-writers wanted it to feel timeless, but they slipped a lot of gems from that time. So the ones that I was able to clock and thought to write down at least were Smash Mouth, Busta Rhymes, Third Eye Blind, G-Love and Special Sauce.
That's right. Wow.
Sublime, 311, Blink 182, and rounding it out, Rule of Three with like numbers in the name, Eve 6.
Yeah, that's a pretty...
That's such a specific moment in time.
They must have spent most of their budget on...
Plus they had like Thelma Houston's Don't Leave Me This Way.
Yeah.
They had Barry Manilow jams.
Yeah, they played that quite often, actually.
There was some others I'm not thinking. Can't Hardly Wait in the credits, obviously. When Will I See You Again? That's an old song.
Oh, yeah.
I forget who sings that one. But When Will I See You Again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like a lot of those bands, as you're naming them, I'm like cringe.
Yeah.
Cringe. But it was also the best songs. Like I was one of the only people who did not like Third Eye Blind. It seemed like in ever at that time. Like I felt like I had taken crazy pills, and I really do like that song, and it's called Graduate. And I was like, okay, this is the one song that I actually do like by them. But and they had Walking on the Sun, and that's the one that they're not
catchy. Smash Mouth is catchy. Yeah. I don't know their deep hits. I don't really care, but I don't mind Third Eye Blind either. Their hits at least. I weaved in and out of liking them versus not liking them when I was a young person, but now I'm like,
Yeah.
Semi-Charmed Life is catchy. It's fine. Like, is it on my Spotify most listened to list? No.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've actually been listening to Walking on the Sun a lot this year, so it'll be about another month or two.
Oh my gosh.
I've been listening to a weird, either like creepy goth music or Sonic Youth and Jesus Mary Chain all day, every day, like I have for the past probably 20 years, or just a bunch of bops. Because I'm in such a weird mental place. Either the dark stuff speaks to me, or I need to escape my crazy brain and walk around or drive around. And for some reason, I have enough distance between now and the 90s where I'm like, Walking on the Sun. Yeah, I'm going to keep listening to this, actually.
And I will say, I did like it at the time, too.
Well, it had like a cool... both retro and futuristic kind of vibe to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the clothes that people are wearing, it's all bowling shirts.
Yeah.
It's all like 60s and like
and that was
50s.
sort of Smash Mouth, like how they dressed. Yeah.
Exactly. It was always the button-up shirt. Yeah, bowling attire that everybody was like obsessed with, like the Drew Carey era, I think.
My god, I've never heard it that way, bowling attire, but you're so right. That's why I'm
that's what everybody, and I'll admit, like I think I probably had a few shirts like that. I mean, it was
I know I did too. Yeah, for
when I used to go to Miller's Outpost or whatever. Did you guys have Miller's Outpost? Okay, we had Miller's Outpost, and it was the cool place to get clothes. It was grungy in the 90s, but then it really became like But that was like that was so that was cool. The clothes was not cool, but
no, but it was cool to see it in the time capsule way,
yes,
which is how we approach a lot of these older movies. I agree. I have a question. So Preston, when he leaves the party all sad, he goes to his high school football field where they just had graduation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teen movies that do this, where they go to the school grounds. I never a day in my life went to school if I didn't have to go to school. Was you too? Did you ever have a reflective moment in the parking lot of your fucking high school, especially after you graduated, but even if you were still in school?
Oh God, no. I mean, I will say, and this is coming from me, I used to get excited about going back to school. I used to...
Nerd alert.
I know. I used to have in my senior year, I had 8 classes. I was crazy for school, I guess. But if I didn't have to be there, oh no. It was not a place of reflection for me, because it's like, okay, well, yeah, just why? And find an overlook. Like there's no reason to be at your old school. Yeah,
it's just such a weird. I mean, it's probably because they already have the location.
I feel like that, yeah.
But it's just one of those things that doesn't feel like it happens in real life. Mm-hmm. The only times I heard about it happening in my hometown was to do some kind of like senior prank or destruction of property that may or may not have been legal.
But also at the same time, it's with it. The problem that I have with that, it's not the facility that makes it the school. It's the people there that make it the school. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of buildings. Otherwise, it's an empty field and stuff like that. So, like, I don't know what that reflection is that he would be having.
But it's also like, I don't think he had a miserable high school experience, but I think he's going to peak later in life, right? Mm-hmm. I had a miserable high school experience, and I can't remember the last time I was at my high school, maybe to pick up my little brother from school at one point when I was in college, but like I really can't totally place it, to be honest. If I went back now as a grown-ass woman, I would have muscle memory and probably have a panic attack.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I would not, I don't want to go back.
Sure, yeah.
I don't want to go back. It's weird enough driving back when I'm not in my hometown a lot, but when I am, I'm like, demon place.
but I think even in the 90s, like I feel like you would have gone to a place that didn't. Or no, I would say a mall. Oh,
well,
I guess
it was at night.
Close,
yeah, so it was like diner.
I don't know.
Go home to your bedroom, like
Yeah, that was kind of.
But
weird.
then he never would have met because he had to drive to a phone booth. If he was at home, he could have called from his phone. But then he met Angel
Jenna Elfman,
exotic dancer Jenna Elfman.
Yeah,
another fun cameo.
I know. I was like, wow. Okay, we cinched it. We got the trifecta, or like the whole shebang, the whole 90s shebang. Yeah.
Oh, that was the other gay moment when she thought that. I thought it was like, for some reason I was conflating. Yeah, we saw too many.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about Mike Dexter, and then I think there's something in American Pie too.
Oh,
it's the times, guys. It all blurs together. But yeah, that was what I meant by like, if he was like, no, my name's Preston, the same way he's like, no, I'm straight. Like I didn't, because he wasn't that rattled by it. It was more like, whoa, misunderstanding. Yeah. But then she was so lovely.
But the way he was talking about it, he was talking about Barry Manilow.
Yeah, she didn't.
So it really did sound like,
And then he was perfectly lovely in how she was like, hey, Scott Baio, we all have our thing. He was just like, I'm just going to let her have it.
Yeah, he did let it go.
So the writers, I think, did a good job of handling some of these teen tropes of appropriation and slurs and mistaken identities. In a punching down way, typically. I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
They could have been worse.
But I think it's also like going for the cheap joke.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like they didn't do it.
And it was very of the times.
Yeah. But anyways,
the behind the scenes production of it is like they rented a house because it was like cheaper to just like they got greenlit as like relatively new writer directors who had like been around in the industry but hadn't commanded their own project, like been at this, head of it. So like they literally kept it, they wrote a script that they could have in one location for the most part.
Yeah.
And that was part of how they got it sold, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And apparently all these people are in the movie because there was a little bit, this was as the teen movie craze was about to rev up. So unless you booked Buffy or Sabrina or whatever else was on the air at that time, it's kind of a wasteland for if you weren't a child actor or an adult actor. So everyone in town, this was like the hot project, and it's why there's so much stacked talent because the casting directors had their pick because everyone wanted to be in this movie.
Yeah, and it seemed, that's what the part. I mean, it probably was a great filming because they are literally a bunch of. Actually, probably mostly 20-year-olds, but like
they're probably like 18 to 24, 26, maybe. Yeah.
But it was probably, and also the two other locations are places that
that we've been.
I know.
Wait, what John Marshall
High School, which we're going to come to you on TikTok one of these days. Yeah, a lot of things are filmed there.
Yeah, it's a very iconic high school. And
what's the other one?
And then Union Station.
Oh, duh. We have filmed there. That will be on our TikTok this week, actually. Where they did the Preston and Amanda goodbye sequence.
Yeah, exactly. And that is an actual train station. So
it looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful place. Yeah,
it really is. I agree. Couple rogue notes before we wrap it up. I thought that Preston and Denise splitting up at the party was kind of weird. Like, what about being a wing woman? I get it. It's a plot device. She had to find Kenny, and he had to be miserable by himself looking for Amanda. But like, don't insecure young people usually cling to each other at parties? Like that popped for me. I think it always low key popped for me, but now I'm like.
Yeah, nobody was concerned either.
It's like, just go do your thing. Oh, you can get a ride home? The woman? Like,
yeah, exactly.
He's just gonna ditch. You were like, that's confident of him to think that, like, it was gonna work out where he wouldn't drive her home. And he just left, didn't even look for her.
Right. Absolutely. Did not. Wow.
Like, that just was,
that is pretty,
a little ridiculous.
Yeah. Especially, like, he really didn't seem to have very many. I mean, let's be honest. Like, I feel like Preston didn't have that many friends. I mean, people knew him.
He was friendly with people, but like Denise had no friends. Like he was more around, but just the idea of two 18-year-olds going to a party and splitting up almost right away and never touching base.
Yeah.
Or like meet at 12 and see how it's going.
Or like just having any concern that
you drove this girl against her will to the party, and then you ditch her and you expect her to get a ride home.
What an awful friend.
Kind of, yeah.
Wow.
Kind of. The other thing is I also like the weird messaging of fate with action that Angel Jenna Elfman said, how it's like, and I don't really believe in fate, but she was like, fate happens, but you have to take action, because it's the whole quote of like, success is when opportunity meets preparation.
Right.
So for like a fantastical, not that she really was an angel, but it was an absurd scene.
Yeah.
Let's be real. And the fact that like that was actually grounded advice to give a young person and not magical thinking and not and she didn't even have a good story. It's like, learn from my mistakes, take action. Like there's something about that where I'm like, oh, that's never aged poorly.
No. I think that's
it's weirdly grounded.
I mean, this is why this is why like I kind of don't like astrology.
Yeah.
Because I've known people that are literally like, oh, it's retrograde, I can't go to this thing, I can't do this because I can't sign a new lease, so I can't move.
Or they're like, they're not nice because they're a Taurus.
Oh, exactly.
They're not nice because they're a Leo. Guess what? All my exes are Leos. And I'm like, or you just like shitty men who happen to have been born in July. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly.
Because you know what? If I read astrology and I found out that I was going to have car trouble on the 12th, I've never met another Libra that also had car trouble on the 12th.
Exactly.
We've also never found love at the same time on the 29th.
Right. And I had a boss. We were born literally on the same day. I was born in West Covina. He was born in, I think, Alhambra or something. So we were born on the same day, exact same day. And so our lives should have mirrored each other. We couldn't have been any different, me and this guy. But that's why I'm like, with the whole fate and everything. It's like, if you just, you have to just let it happen. And it's like, no, you have to kind of do stuff.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can't force stuff. You have to let the cards fall, but then you have to take action either which way eventually, or get ready to take. Yeah, so I just, considering there's a lot of bad advice in teen movies, I was like, oh,
yeah, not too bad.
That's actually not so bad. Yeah. I also loved Kenny and Denise in the bathroom being fashion critics. Like, they're the two people in the movie who 100% should not be being fashion critics. And the reason why I thought it was funny is because it feels like true life. Everyone I know who literally drags people for their fashion choices has the worst fashion I've ever seen. Any friend I've ever been friends with that's like, oh, that girl's wearing that. Guess what? They're not chic. They're not even close. And so it's like the lady doth protest too much almost, and so it was a very entertaining scene, but I was also like, oh, there's some truth to this though. Like, this is exactly the two characters that would be like ragging on each other 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're both like she's
on the opposite ends of a similar
because she's dressed like a middle-aged, I don't even know what, just nondescript, bland, and he puts it best like through the shoes to serve an orthopedic function. And then his outfit's the most ridiculous outfit in history. I mean,
right.
So it was
but also
perfect.
of the time,
of the time, but also even a little like I think all of it together made it with the braids, the goggles, the everything was slightly exaggerated, but of the times, all of it individually for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then the girl whose party it was, whose parents leave town the day of graduation day?
Yeah, I was.
That was a bit of a plot hole to me
too. I was like,
would they just take her with summer vacation, like graduation trip? I mean, I get it; they got to have a party, but
And also, she was so concerned about the house. Why have a party? Why?
Maybe it was her first rodeo. Maybe she didn't realize how crazy parties get.
I guess
Maybe it was like her going away gift and was like, I'm finally going to be remembered. I mean, we didn't get a lot of backstory of her, and I think that was like a device on purpose. She was just like a threaded in character, but and then also just final thought, this was very much a pre 9/11 movie with the Preston dropping his bags at Union Station and running. You couldn't do that now, and the whole like cell phones would have. Kenny could have called someone at the party in the bathroom.
I know. That just, there's so many things where modern devices...
He wouldn't have needed to use like a phone booth.
Yeah.
Preston.
Yeah, and even the nerds had like walkie-talkies.
I know. That's right. And they didn't know where William was until they heard commotion and like...
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because even though I'm younger than these people, when I was in college... Rural Pennsylvania still didn't have great cell phone reception, so we were at this farmhouse partying once, and my best friend Lauren got locked in a bathroom.
Wow.
And I was drunk. I used to drink. I used to be fun. And I was walking out. I'm like, wait, I haven't seen my best friend Lauren in a minute. Because we were not Preston and whatever, Lauren, Amber, Denise. And all of a sudden I was like, guys, wait, be quiet. Where's Lauren? And then I heard her screaming bloody murder at the top of because it was like upstairs too. And there was like 5 buildings on this property. So I'm so glad I did not lose track of her.
Oh, no.
She was ready to jump out the damn window.
Yeah, because what are you going to...
Because like, I don't even know if she had... Her cell phone was probably either in her car or it didn't work because it doesn't always... Back in the day, it didn't really always work if we were like in a residential part of the town. Yeah,
I mean, even I was at Not Scary Farm yesterday. There was a good chunk of my day where I was trying to communicate with people, and it was like, no, I didn't. Even at Not Scary Farm, I couldn't get reception. That was the scariest part. But
It's true.
Yeah,
when you can't make a call, you're like, no.
Well, because it does add that element, because it's so weird. Because I know people probably couldn't imagine going to school and not having their cell phone with them, and you just
I kind of can't. I had a cell phone in high school. I never turned it on, but it was for emergencies.
Yeah,
like I was old enough to have that be the norm, and most of my friends had a cell phone too.
Right, but it's.
But we didn't have GPS on our phone.
Yeah. Oh.
No.
Lucky if you could even
make the call.
Yeah, or lucky if you could even make a text that's over 80 characters or whatever.
Yeah, right. Seriously. It didn't like cost...
Yeah, it cost $25.
Yeah, those are my rogue thoughts. Just,
I
don't know, couple plot things, couple just cultural like, okay, but...
Yeah, for sure. And it's so weird because I feel like a lot of movies now have to get rid of the cell phone, especially horror movies.
Oh, yeah.
They have to get rid of the cell phone at the beginning and explain why. Either they set it in the 80s or whatever, or they make something happen.
Right.
Like, oh, you're too close to a Tesla coil or something. But yeah, and then like the end, I think it could have been worse.
Yeah, I'm mixed on it myself.
Okay,
We'll talk through it. We'll talk through it. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
So... She doesn't know him, pretty much at all. She didn't know. She was going through the entire party asking who Preston was. Like, she spent literally half the party.
Yeah, it's true.
trying to even find out what he looked like or any discernible.
Which I'm sorry, but Jason Segel and the curly-haired guy was
yeah.
He's like kind of tall, kind of
he's
brown
like
hair and wears t-shirts.
He's wearing okay.
And she was like,
okay, yeah. I mean, that was cool. I mean, that goes back to another thing. Is like all these kids were drinking. I don't know if they were smoking pot, but like there were some people that were drinking, but they're acting high more than drunk. Anyways, but yeah, no, he had been pining over her this whole time. Obviously, didn't make any impression within 4 years to this person, to the point where she has to, do a search.
Yeah.
And she has to go into the yearbook to see what
the whole time you're like, look at the yearbook, look at that.
Yeah,
and finally it manifested. But.
And I'm like, and then you're gonna give it all, or not give it all up. She didn't, but like she was like, or putting it all on the line. She puts it all on the line to like come. Hey, have you ever had a real conversation together? Like, I don't know. I think
okay. I think though, yes, unrealistic AF for sure. Mm-hmm. And I don't think two teenagers would be that self-confident to do all the things that they did. However, she did chew him out at the party.
Yeah,
and when she realized it was who he was, I think it was sort of an act of like equalizing. You know, it's like, oh, I ignored you for 4 years, so I'm going to show up.
Sure.
And I think with the letter, he didn't know her. However, I think he saw that. I'm assuming, and this is the big benefit of the doubt. I could be wrong, but I'm assuming over those 4 years of high school, he collected data on her, not necessarily in a creepy way, but maybe saw her be nice to people or like paid too close attention to her English poetry being read and thought there was depth there. Like the stuff you do, your brain creates patterns, right or wrong, and I think he must have picked up on some correct things because I think she felt seen by that letter where she didn't feel seen in the relationship with Mike Dexter. So I think I would hate this ending, but I think because I think that's the context, it's still not realistic. I don't totally love it, but it's why it's forgivable to me because I think there was some kind of draw there that wasn't just you're a nice guy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
If it was
because
just
he did do his. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and it was probably nicely written, and he obviously wrote it, but he also wrote it a long time ago, right?
He rewrote it a bunch.
He wrote it a bunch. Yeah, that's right. So I imagine it was compelling, definitely.
Should they have made out at the train station before going on a date? No. But I did like how they were like, they're still together, but it wasn't that they're married like Wendy Peppercorn from The Sandlot. But, and, you know, just that they're still together. Yeah. And she wrote him a bunch of letters and got to, like, return the... So I'm like, maybe they had a chance to get... I don't know. Maybe, realistically, they shouldn't be married. I think it's weird when people from high school end up together. That's just me.
Yeah.
I'm not a big...
It was my parents, but yeah. Just kidding.
Well, I'm happy for Clark's
Yeah.
But it's rare. It's rare that it's a good idea, even.
It is, yeah.
You know, because you don't get a lot of chance to grow on your own. Your brain's not even developed till 25 or 26. Right. So it's kind of like, it's just not, there's exceptions, but for the most part, I'm generally not into it.
No, for sure.
I don't think that they would be together still 20 years after they graduated, 24 years after they graduated, but I don't hate that they were still dating for a little bit at least afterwards.
That's fine. Yeah.
Could have been worse. Yeah. They didn't end on a wedding. So.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Then I would have hated it.
Yeah, that would have been too much. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was good. Yeah. Well, that was good. I waited long enough.
Wait is over. We already made that joke.
I know we did. But I don't care. I'll make it a million times.
And of course, Replacement's playing at the end. Never a bad time. Next week we're gonna watch The Godfather finally, which we've been candidly dragging our feet with. We filmed the intro like September, 2 months ago. Yeah, at this
September
point.
September 7th,
Yeah, so like 6 weeks ago. And I think we're going to like it. I just think we know it's going to be intense. And that's why... And long. And something about it, like mood-wise, I'm not up for. But I think I'll like it fine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's generally what it is.
Yeah.
It's like... I've been addicted to brain candy for like the whole pandemic, so
So it might
I'm interested in watching it. I think it might be great. So yeah,
we're gonna do it. So Godfather is next, and American Pie will be after that. So stay tuned, subscribe, like, follow all the things of the things. I'm Lauren-Blair Donovan, Blairosaurus Rex.
Clark Canez, other Clarksy on the internet.
Yeah, on the net.
On the net.
On all the net socials.
Yeah. You guys got your AOL discs, or your Netscapes.
Yes, Prodigy.
Prodigy.
Oh my dad had that in his office. So we will be back next week. So stay tuned and bye.
Bye.